right, last but not least, what is this business with the detective being reassigned? We talked about this a little bit in the episode, but let's elaborate just a smidge more because it is an interesting plot twist, and I am going to refer to my notes. So what we said was that an investigator in this case, very loud plane going overhead. Let's roll with it. We talked about how an investigator on this case was reassigned, possibly because he did not agree with the conclusion that Brendan Banfield had used his wife's devices to sign her up for FetLife. In July of this year, a judge required the state to hand over to the defense all personnel records, communication regarding the transfer of this particular officer. Under the protective measure of if there's anything exculpatory here, you need to have that turned over. We don't want any Brady issues. The defense is trying to say, well, why didn't they include this in the discovery? This guy was transferred because he disagreed with the state's theory, and the state's like, well, no, it's because it's a personnel record. This wouldn't be included in a criminal proceeding. It has nothing to do with anything. He was reassigned. It's just a coincidence that he also did not come to the same conclusion we did. I mean, it looks dicey. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. Brendan's attorney, I'm going to read my notes, said that the Fairfax County Police Department's digital forensic analyst determined that Brendan was not behind the accounts communicating with Joseph Ryan. And after that conclusion, he was transferred and moved off the case by high up leadership, even though his work had been peer reviewed by University of Alabama. So that wasn't included in the discovery. They're like, well, what the hell? This is a flawed, investigation. They're just searching for assumptions and they're not looking at facts. And the prosecutor's like, listen, the judge didn't say we violated Brady. We just don't turn over personnel records that have nothing to do with this. And that's all this is. It's not what they're making it to be. We'll happily turn over everything they need, and we'll happily let a jury decide what is and isn't factual based on the evidence. So the state's being pretty cavalier. The defense, I think, is looking for their Perry Mason moment. Don't know if they're going to get it, but that's what that was about. Is this a coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. But in any case, a detective was reassigned from this case that had a differing conclusion than the state's theory. We'll see how that pans out. Since they're going to turn over all these personnel records, I'm going to assume that we're not going to find any surprises. Otherwise, they'd probably want to get ahead of them, but that's where we are. It's probably also why this case is going to take a month, but that covers all of the questions that I have gotten in the last 24 hours about this. If you have any more and you want a deep dive for a quick tid and bit, let me know. I got to get back to work now. Bye, guys.